Here we go. It is time for the Ball Report with the one, the only Cooper Mays, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. We had a chance to visit with those guys recently. Coop, what'd you think about the fellas down at City?
Great folks. Great. I trust them with my HVAC. That's for
There
sure.
you go. Absolutely. We certainly appreciate that. And so does my mom. And speaking of Mother's Day right around the corner, we tried to run your mom down. She's more difficult than a five-star recruit. You told me that last year. You're like, you're not going to get her on. I was like, I'm going to try because you told me I couldn't because I'm obstinate. I worked hard, couldn't do it. What would you like to say to your mom on Mother's Day?
Man, probably just replay last year's. I don't know. I'm not good at stuff like this, but she knows how I feel about her. She's the best mom ever. So
So this is the first time we spoke with spring practice completely over. You were a little banged up at the end of spring practice. Feeling good? Everything okay?
yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Perfect. All right. So I look back at the offensive line and I see a bunch of natural leaders there in you. I think John Campbell Jr. I think Javonte Raggins. Am I right there? Are there natural born top leaders at that position?
I think I don't know about natural born leaders. I don't really think I don't know. I don't think anybody's really naturally born a leader. I think it's something that kind of you work at over time and build on. But I mean, I think the biggest thing is we're grown and older guys that are mature, and that just leads to being a leader anyway. So I think when you see guys that have done it a long time and have done it at a high level, then people are going to follow behind them naturally.
On your left side, we think as we project ahead would be Andre Keurig. I know things didn't go exactly how you wanted to, how you wanted them to last year. How hungry is he to get out there?
Oh, I'm sure, really hungry. He's a guy that plays the game the right way and does stuff the right way, and a really good player that he'll be for us this year for sure.
Okay, I'm not going to tell anybody this, but is there a player in spring practice that you line up against and you're like, man, that guy really kind of has my number. For whatever reason, he does better against you than anybody else and anybody else he goes against. Is there anybody that's particularly tough for you on that defensive front?
Um, Particularly tough. I mean, Big E is always going to be a problem for anybody. Just in the situations that we have, like one-on-one pass rush and stuff like that. A guy like that's that big, that athletic, and at full 100%, breathing and everything. That's always going to be a hard matchup. So guys like that, Omar Norman Lott one-on-one is kind of a matchup nightmare for anybody, regardless if it's run or pass. So he's pretty tough to block. But guys like that, yeah.
You're talking about, of course, Elijah Simmons there, Big E. The Vol Report brought to you by our good friends at City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. I wonder how much having defenders come in waves affects you as an offensive lineman, because I think the great teams have defensive linemen that can come in. There's a first group and there's a second group, and they can rotate guys in there. How much more difficult that is that to prepare for than just a starting four, basically?
Teams like that are rough. There's there's few teams that can really do it like the way you described it. But I've played a couple defenses that have backups coming in that were just as good as their ones, and that stuff only makes it bad if the ones are really good, if that makes sense. Because if you got a mediocre one and a mediocre two, then it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? If they're
Mhm.
the same skill up. But if you got a really good old guy, and then when he gets tired, they'll bring out a younger guy. Like I going back towards 2021 Georgia, that was the team that had first rounders all up and down the defensive line and the linebacker core, and they would bring in first round guys. Like these were guys that were on the bench that would later develop into first round picks in a year. There was actually a guy, Kawhi Walker. He's a guy that a guy that came off the bench. He didn't start as their two linebackers in the core. but he would come in and play, and he ended up getting drafted first round. I mean, Jalen Carter, he didn't start those games that I played that year in 2021, but he was a guy that came in and played like that. I mean, the whole teams like that can switch in and out. It's rough. But then again, on the flip side of that, which I know I'm talking a lot about this, and people probably don't care, but
No, it's interesting. It's very interesting, actually.
yeah, the flip side of that is our offense doesn't have to deal with that much because we're so kind of on that.
So if
People can't really. People
somebody,
can't really.
if somebody changes, they have to change in between drives, correct? Basically.
If we sub, the rule states that they have to be allowed to sub too. So that's something. But you can't just in the middle of the drive. We'll get you. You know, we'll do something that will make you pay for subbing in the middle of the drive. You know.
Josh Heupel said this is his best roster that he's had since he's been at Tennessee. 2022 was pretty good. What do you think of that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I trust whatever coach says. You know, I obviously you got to see results on the field before you can don a team better than any other team. But yeah, we got big shoes to fill in that regard. Then,
But what I love about that is in that comment and what you just said, big shoes to fill. You have big shoes to fill, but you guys don't seem afraid at all to fill them.
man, I don't know. It's just we're we're all doing the best we can out here. You know, everybody's just it's just life. You know, like you can't really worry about what other people have going on, what people had going on before you. You just got to go out there and put your best foot forward, and stuff will fall the way it's supposed to. But you can't really get caught up on stuff that just doesn't. I mean, yeah, it exists, I guess, but I mean, comparing two teams 2 years apart doesn't. It's all fake. So you know,
That's very true. There's probably only 50% of the players that are actually, even if that, I would think, with the turnover.
it's. I mean, it's just. I don't even want to get into stuff like that. You know, it's just so far out of reach.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did any of the offensive linemen now that spring's over surprise you from a positive perspective? Any of the young guys, anybody at all?
I've talked about it before, but really all the young guys that stepped up, you know, and had to take a lot of reps. It's spring ball, so this is kind of when young guys get the brunt of the blow, kind of more times than not. So for kids to come in here and graduate early and participate in spring ball and do good, it's a huge positive. So that was my biggest takeaway from spring and still coming out of it is just how those guys were doing. Just they've got to keep mounting on that and keep prevailing a little bit.
Want to ask a question about Nico. And before I do, I want to remind everybody that we get to visit with Cooper each and every week during football season. So hit that like and subscribe button, turn your notifications on to make sure you get that. Again, like and subscribe. The Vol Report is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. How often does he wear pajama pants to practice?
To practice, none.
Okay. Workouts.
None.
None. Okay.
We do everything. We do everything. Nobody looks different than anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
That's how Hypo runs it. Now, does he walk in with pajama pants? Of course. But
Does anybody else do that? Is that I'm trying to figure out if I'm just old.
I don't know what you are, but I know
I don't know what you are,
but
but
people don't do that. We can't do that. Everybody's wearing the same. We all have loops is what they call them. They're loops, and it's your loops of the day, dress of the day, and they put it all on the loop through the collar and the sleeve. So if dress of the day is shorts and a t-shirt and your workout shoes, then that's what you're in the whole day. So
okay. So if you let's put it this way, are you cool enough to rock the pajama shorts like out on the club at a Friday night or something like that?
yeah, I don't really care, man. I don't really go out like that. I don't know. I don't really enjoy it as much as I did when I was young for a couple months, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mind. I personally don't really care much what people think about me in a certain way. So yeah, I wouldn't mind.
That it does kind of speak to. I don't think Nico, and I mean this is a positive. I don't think he cares what other people think about him, which is probably a good attitude to have when everybody's trying to pump him up so much.
Yeah, and I say in a certain way, kind of referring back to what I was talking about. I don't really care what people think. Obviously, the people that you care about, you care what they think. Obviously, people in your circle, your coaches and everything, you care what they think about you and stuff. But like, kind of with how what we talk about and stuff, man. Like, if you don't talk to them and they don't love you and you don't love them and they're not pouring into you, why do you care what anybody else thinks about what you got going on? Because really, at the end of the day, the way people think about others and the way people talk about others is just really a just projection of how they're feeling on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know. I don't really get caught up in stuff like that.
Not to mention, it's all going to be gone. All this stuff that we get caught up about, and sports, it's polls and all that stuff, and rankings, and the college football playoff. But in the end, it's all going to be just a blip on the radar.
Yeah, man. It's just stuff to keep the world going around a little bit.
So, how do you think your mindset will change with the college football playoff? Because, like, back in the day, if you lost to Florida in September, it was like Tennessee's out of it. It's over. It's not like that. Well, you don't play Florida in September, but it's not like that anymore. It's way different. How do you think that changes your mindset? Have you thought much about it?
Yeah. Once again, I that's kind of one of those things that you put it on my radar, but I haven't really thought about that exact scenario. I don't know, man. Maybe people think about stuff like that play football, but I don't know. I don't really.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is a loss less crushing if you know that all your goals are out there like a natty?
Yeah. I mean, probably not like what the proper etiquette answer is, I guess. But I mean, I guess it does change things up a little bit. I didn't really play in a time where people went through that. You know what I'm saying? I've kind of been in the playoff era the whole time I've been in college football. So I've never played a team and was like, oh, everything's gone now. Kind of every year that I've played, you've had a chance to go do whatever you wanted, even if you lost the game. But I mean, at the end of the day, losing a big time game like that is gonna be rough either way.
Can I ask you a question? It's kind of a tough one, but you don't have to name who it is.
Yeah.
Has any other school ever contacted you about playing for them, which would be called tampering?
No.
Not
I don't
one.
think I don't
Nobody shot you a text or anything.
no, man. I'm really low key, man. People don't really
Do
I
you?
stay low key. I also got locked in for next year.
Right.
Knew I was coming back before any of the. I mean, I don't know when did I announce? Sometime a little bit before the year ended, maybe.
It was right at January 1, maybe week before, week after.
Yeah. So I mean, I knew I was coming back, and people weren't probably suspecting that I was going to leave anyway. So
Well, yeah, and that makes sense because you're a hometown guy, family played there. But do you think other guys get phone calls from other people? You're not playing enough. You play more if you played at school X. Do you think that stuff's going on?
I'm not really sure, man. It's tough to say. It's college football.
So it sounds like it wouldn't surprise you if it was going on.
Nothing really surprises me. Not in that. Not. Of course, not towards that instance that you're talking about. But nothing really surprises me anymore in anything. So, but I don't know. I've never heard of any of my friends talking about it. People won't talk about that stuff. It's not really. I don't think anybody would be saying anything about it.
Okay, so that would be a secret even in between teammates.
I
Yeah, I don't think you need to broadcast that for anybody. Plus, you would be saying that I have some intention to leave. What do you think of the way NIL has changed? Because just since you and I started working together, we thought it was going to be about pay the high school player. It's turned out to be pay the proven player, which it should be. It's turned out to be some pay the transfer player, and I think the jury's still out on that. But how do you think it's evolved? What do you think of it?
I mean, what you're referring to, the biggest thing that's evolved is a lot of the kids that started out in college while NIL happened are getting out of college. So you got to pay the proven players because those are the high school players that you were getting out of the, in recruiting, I guess. I don't know. I it's I guess it's different. I don't think it's that much different. I mean, it's obviously a bigger thing now and companies are taking advantage of it more. But yeah, it's a crazy world we live in for sure.
It makes sense. I'd rather have one Cooper Mays that show me he can do it than four stars who I hope can do it.
Well, the difference is the only reason why I'm the guy that's on this side of it is because I got here after, or I got here before NIL started. So
Right.
at the end of the day, I was a 4-star. If I would have just came around a year later, I would have been that 4-star that people probably didn't, that was unproven. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
But I guess I see the numbers going down with high school prospects. So I'm just wondering if it's turned out, because I'm not just saying this because you're with me here now, but I think you should have gotten paid because we saw what happened in Florida last year. I think other guys should have gotten paid to stay. I'm happy with the way it's worked out. I don't know that a 17-year-old deserves as much as a 22-year-old who's played 40 games for the program.
yeah, it's comparing apples to oranges. That's for
It's true. And I'm pretty good at that. All right, Coop. Tell your mom Happy Mother's Day.
Of course, no doubt.
Go for it right now.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yes. There's a Happy Mother's Day song. Do you know how to sing it?
no.
There's no
Nope.
one. There's no one. Just go ahead. Just go ahead with your
Happy Mother's Day.
Love it. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.